Film, arguably the most expressive and reflective art form. An art form with the great ability not only to reveal the true essence of reality to its audience, but also an ability to manipulate said audience to believing a viewpoint of reality that the filmmaker believes. As my film teacher says,
great filmmakers are great manipulators.
But how exactly did we get to a point where these manipulative tactics became so effective? How did this art form become what it is today? So without further ado, let's explore the history of film. The history of film is better known as the history of modern pictures, partly because film is derived from photography. This can be shown through two optical phenomena known as the persistence of vision and the phi phenomenon. The persistence of vision is an optical phenomenon that claims if drawings of the stages of an action were shown in fast succession, the human eye would perceive them as a continuous movement. The phi phenomenon claims something very similar. It claims that stationary objects shown in rapid succession, transcending the threshold at which they can be perceived separately, appear to move. In conclusion, the earliest filmmakers learned that if we show pictures at a very quick rate, it would give the audience the illusion of a moving picture. If you ever see an FPS indicator on your camera or on a video you are watching, it essentially tells you the number of pictures you are seeing per second to create the illusion of a moving object. But how were these pictures displayed so quickly, and what devices were used? The answer to this question comes from the famous Edison brothers, who created the first modern picture camera in 1888. In order to display the visuals from this camera, the Edison brothers created the kinograph, which imprinted up to 50 feet or 15 meters of celluloid film at the rate of about 40 frames per second. They also created the kintoscope, which enabled people to view films for the first time on an individual basis. The first public kintoscope demonstration took place in 1893. By 1894, the kintoscope was a commercial success, with public parlors established around the world. While the technology of film is interesting, content is king. So what were early films really about? When it comes to early films, the notion that content is king wasn't really that apparent. Early films were very short, sometimes only a few minutes or less, and showed daily activities such as a train pulling up to a station. These films were sometimes also tourist attractions, showing viewers a different place that they would probably never ever see in their lives. These films were shown at fairgrounds, music halls, or anywhere a screen could be set up and a room darkened. Early films were both black and white and didn't have any integrated sound. However, they weren't silent. Early films were accompanied by lectures, music, and a lot of audience participation. Imagine a film playing in the background and you having to participate in that film in order to create a given sound. While the film industry was fairly basic at the time, 1914 brought about a great development to the industry through the creation of national film industries in places such as Europe, Russia, and Scandinavia. It was in these national film industries that longer films with narratives started to be produced. However, they were still colorless, and a lot of the time they didn't have integrated sound. This was soon to change. The Vitaphone in 1927 was the first attempt at integrated sound, and I say attempt in a nice way because the Vitaphone was notorious for being extremely unreliable. The Vitaphone employed a separate record disc with each reel of film for the sound. The first film to use this system for synchronized dialogue was The Jazz Singer in 1927. The unreliability of the Vitaphone led to it being replaced by an optical variable density soundtrack recorded photographically along the edge of the film. This was developed originally for newsreels such as Movietone. After this, the only major technological advancement happened through the creation of colored films in 1936. One of the first colored films was The Wizard of Oz, which is an absolute classic. Shortly after, we experienced the film consumer golden age, where people had access to viewing films at a very, very, very simple rate. This clocked in views of over 30 to 40 million views of movies a week. After that, the history of film is mostly linear, until very, very recently. Let me explain. Remember how I stated that we had a film consumer golden age? Now we're experiencing a filmmaker golden age. Access to creating films has never been as easy as it is today. Nowadays, everyone and their mother has access to a cell phone and the ability to make a very, very simple film. And nothing like this has ever been done before, which makes the future of the film industry very unpredictable. There's no saying where the next big film is going to come from. There's no saying what the next big technological advance is going to be. Which is why, after studying the history of film for the past 4 weeks, I have come up with the following conclusion. By the way, thank you to all of my freestyle film classmates that helped me make this bit.
Create,
and dare to create. Throughout history, it is clear
those who weren't afraid of creating were the ones who benefited the most.
Whether that be daring to attempt at creating a movie picture or
daring to introduce sound to those moving pictures, those who have created have ingrained their names in history.
Yes, you may be ridiculed. Yes, your ideas may seem ridiculous,
but you'll never know the difference you can make until you
dare to create. So go out there, dare to create, and I'll see you all in the next one.